Right, can you do me a favour, Ken? You do something here, but then you put it behind. Right, can you do me a favour, Ken? You do something here, but then you put it behind. Right, can you do me a favour, Ken? You do something here, but then you put it behind. Right, can you do me a favour, Ken? You do something here, but then you put it behind. Right, can you do me a favour, Ken? You do something here, but then you put it behind. Right, can you do me a favour, Ken? You do something here, but then you put it behind. Right, can you do me a favour, Ken? Right. Here, but then you put it behind. Right.
Whoosh. That's a good workout. Welcome. We are at live stream, was it number 5? Let me catch my breath. While I catch my breath, I just want to welcome everyone again. You know, this whole thing with Corona keeping us indoors, part of it's because I'm old. I swear to God, I jog every day, and just about every day, but I'm still, you know, with us being indoors a lot more, it's like it's all about making the most out of a situation. And for me, I was a performer mostly, a full-time performer that taught off to the side up until Corona hit. And now we've been doing a lot more live streams, and there's just something really special, I think, about just being able to connect with people I haven't talked to in years, as well as being able to share. Like I'm still catching my breath. When things are so challenging, I always feel like that's when the creative side really comes out and it really shows us the kind of people we are. I always think you can always tell like what kind of people everyone are is by how they act when the chips are down, as well as when the chips are up, of course, too. But you really get to see like what people do to get over the hurdles or to be lost in it. So I hope, before anything, I just hope you guys are not lost in it. I hope you all are doing well. I know most of us are kind of stuck indoors. Part of the reason why I wanted to make this, and I also want to encourage you guys to do your own live streams. You don't have to be perfect or even great, and you can make mistakes and you can drop, but I think the whole point is just simply that you're doing something with all that energy, especially if we're pent up. You know, a lot of us need like that connection with human beings. And I feel like live streaming is, well, it's not the same, it's something completely different. It is something that can definitely help get all that artistry out. Before I begin, as always, I want to thank Dark Monk and Flow Toys. They're the sponsors of this channel, and they are amazing. Flow Toys makes amazing LED nunchucks and LED stabs and LED everything. And then Dark Monk does most of my training chucks and just about all of my fire props. So big kudos to both of them. And lastly, I kind of want to talk about something, well, kind of brag. I was checking my stats today, and I looked, and bam, what is this? What is this? Do you see that big 50K right there? 50,000 subscribers. My YouTube channel has finally hit 50,000 subscribers. I mean, we also have 6.21 million views, but that is not bad for someone that wants to teach nunchucks in an artistic way. Such a niche art. And yeah, we've hit 50,000 subscribers. That's really awesome. I'm really excited, really proud. Just wanted to brag a little bit before we begin. Today's an open forum, so I already have questions that people have asked. But the main goal about this forum is that I have nothing. Like, I came in not completely unprepared, but pretty much if there's nothing to talk about, I'm probably just going to jam out. But mainly, I'm here for you guys. I'm going to answer questions that you have about flow, or if you even want to talk about other things like video games, or how I do my visuals or performance, or how I made a living full-time as a performer. I can give you some tips for strategies that work for me. I've got a lot of things to share because my life is art pretty much, and you know, I do a lot in terms of that. But so to begin with, I am going to look and try to shout out to everyone that's commented. So this is going to take a minute or two. Give just a second here. Whoa. You know, one thing I want to do, I think in the future, I want to have over in the corner, I want to have the feed where everyone's talking. I got to do that. That way you guys can, otherwise you're just going to see me like leaning over and trying to read what people are saying. And, you know, this is not fun watching someone stare at the screen. It's kind of awkward. I do have to admit, like when you live stream, it's a totally different environment because I'm staring at this camera. The camera doesn't laugh, it doesn't smile, it doesn't do anything but look like this, like it just looks like this, like, you know. And then when you stare at it long enough, even if you say the funniest thing or you get no expression back, you just get this little camera just staring at you, you know. By the way, this is my little Corona. This was given to me as a gift. I will always remember the days that I'm sitting in front of my computer all day and all night, but I do that anyways. Okay, I'm gonna give some shout outs here. Shout out to Yanderdale. He's asked a question that I want to answer very soon, as well as Ahmed and Josh Kidd. And let's see, Fabio, and oh my gosh, there's Alexandro and Victorious and Enrico and Derek and Kyle and TJ. DJ wants to do some fire. I can cover some of that. Steve, I can't do fire indoors though. That would be awesome. Steve Ray, Marcel, Lisa. And thank you, Jeanette, with the congrats on the 50K. I'm really excited too. Wow, yeah, I can't even fathom that. I mean, if we put out all the subscribers in a stadium, that would be pretty big. If you have any questions at all, whether it's beginner or advanced, ask me, because even if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. But otherwise, I'll give you a hand with it. Okay, give me just a second here. I'm going to collect some of the questions that have already been asked, and then we're just going to jump in. Again, this is an open forum, so it's for you. You ask me whatever you want. I'll put it in a queue, and I'll go down the list. All right, first question is, Ahmed asks, wait, before I begin, please let me know if, is the microphone coming in okay? Even if I stand back here, I just want to make sure you can still hear me back here. Should be, hopefully it's loud enough. Let me know if it's too quiet, I can turn up the volume, or if it's too much, just let me know. Okay, Ahmed asks, how do I do a complex fast style with nunchucks? That is okay. Let me go ahead and go over to, boom, main camera. How do you do a fast style with nunchucks? Well, one thing you want to think about is what exactly is speed, right? Speed with the nunchuck, first is you want to have the right weight of nunchuck, and then second, you have to figure out how your body mechanics go. So if you have light nunchucks, obviously you can go faster. If you have heavy nunchucks, yes, you can still go fast, but it takes a little bit more practice. Honestly, if you use heavier nunchucks, for instance, I don't want to say fire nunchucks are the heaviest, but fire nunchucks, because they're saturated with fuel at the ends, can get a little bit more weighty than foam nunchucks. But I tend to like them the best because when they flow, the moment you get a heavy nunchuck in motion, it will go very fast as long as you don't stop it. So what makes a heavy nunchuck go slow is when you stop the motion, the bounces. So as I do these bounces, I have to re-energize the force that I'm creating. On the contrary, if I use a very light nunchuck, like let's say I have foam nunchucks, I can, well, number one, you're going to realize that you have a lot of speed to begin with, so you have to actually work with this light as a feather speed. And the other is, like, these bounces are a lot more seamless because there's less force coming down hitting your other hand or whatever body part. So bounces can be really good for speed. Now, if you're talking about a fast style, I've made a video called Hyper Style Nunchucks. I would assume Hyper is probably one of the fastest, and that's just like a lot of the high-speed bounces that you see here. And all it is really just kind of bouncing back and forth across usually your hand or the side of your leg, and we'll just create different patterns. I could go over a few of those, but I think right now, if you just want to know how to be fast, use a light pair of chucks, and then watch my Hyper Style videos. I have a few of them, and they go really in depth into going pretty fast. So go ahead and try that out. I might go do some like Hyper Style combos, but I want to go to the next question. But yeah, first thing to check out is Hyper Style. Okay, coming back here. You guys notice I'm getting a little bit faster at moving back and forth. Excuse this camera, by the way. My main camera off to the side is like really nice, and this one I've had like forever. I just kind of found it, but you know, it's an alternate camera. I think it helps a lot. Great, everyone can hear me good. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, so the next question, give me just a second here. Oh yeah, Anthony says he wants to know about the rolling pass with the staff. And I'm actually gonna show you a video really quick so we can take a look at this a little bit more. Hey, look, it's me. All right, give me just a second. I want to play this so I can analyze this. Let's analyze this together here. He was taking my staff class, and he was having a problem. Let me see.
Can you do me a favour, Ken?
I will definitely do you a favor. Let's do it. Okay.
Put it behind you. I don't know what
He's trying to go behind.
spin that you do. I mean, you're turning
He's
when
close.
you're doing it.
You're really close.
I hope you're doing it. I mean, I know this ain't an anti-spin, but you're doing.
Okay. He mentioned two things. One, all right, I'm gonna stay over here. He mentioned the anti-spin. I'm gonna go back up to here for a second. He mentioned doing an anti-spin, but he was kind of doing the technique of what I was doing yesterday, which was more in-spin. I'm gonna go in the back and kind of show what I see. No. Okay, so I'm still hitting the wrong buttons. All right, let's go back here and see. Here's the stuff. All right. I don't know if he was talking about this motion here, where it's kind of rolling through, or if he's talking about this motion here where it's moving in an ansi spin. So we're going to cover both of them, Anthony, in hopes that it answers your question. The first thing is it looks like you're starting to do this motion first. So we're going to go over with where it's just going to roll behind the back of the neck. And that's as simple as, hold on, let me get my really cool, if you bear with me for a second, you remember what this is. Yeah, I think you guys remember. Divisions. Give me just a second here. All right, boom. There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, I still haven't changed it. Whenever I smile, those things still appear. So what we're doing is with the staff, we're pulling it over to the shoulder like this, and we're holding it up at 45 degrees, right? What you want to make sure is, you see how the staff is pointed over on this shoulder here? We want to make sure that we pull it over to the other 45 degrees on the other end, over here, whoosh, but we need to make sure it's also resting on the opposite shoulder. This is actually resting on my shoulder right here, so it's resting on it. And then as I go over, we can even match it if you want to, but as it goes over, it's going to pretty much match over onto the other end. This is going to give us the isolation that we need to pull it through. If I was to go in the back, here to here. All right, we'll do it with the visuals here, and see how my hand makes that loop? It goes whoosh like that. Make sure your hand makes that loop, and your head is actually, you're kind of taking your elbow and you're pulling it through your head to get to the other side. So here, whoosh. From here, you can just pretty much extend it, go back into your reverse figure eights, go into a forward one. So we could go here, push it into our forward figure eights over here, or we could pull it through and then pull it all the way over, so it's like whoosh. The nice thing about this motion is you can come up into a reverse figure eight over here, and anytime you can pull it right back to that shoulder. 45, 45, pull it up. 45, 45, whoosh. So this becomes like an infinite circle that you can create. Okay, the other question, so this turns off with my smile, by the way, so I have to smile. The other question is, how do you do he may have been asking about the anti-spin. And again, I'm going to show you how the hands look. The hands actually kind of look like it's making kind of like a circle. Like my hands look like it's making a circle, but the staff looks like it's doing more of a line. And the reason for that is because my hand is spinning one direction while the staff is spinning the opposite direction. So instead of my hand and my staff moving in the same direction, the staff is going the opposite way while my hand causing it to look like a spirograph. Like that. And this has to do with very, smile. Yes! You see how much better I am at that now? This has to do with very, see, the problem is then I just smile for no reason, and okay, straight face. The problem is you have to be very specific in how your hands move in order to make this work. So we're going to go over it in 4 easy steps. 1, you're going to push the staff out like this, right? You're going to notice the staff is behind my elbow. Well, actually, we want to kind of keep it in front. I'm sorry. Let's try this again. Let's do 1 like this. Just take your staff, put it down, almost like you're tapping the floor, like this, right? 1. 2 is you're pushing it in front of you like this. The staff should be in front of your face right here. Now 3 is the one, I should be looking here. 3 is the one that gets everyone. The problem with 3 is it's really difficult to realize, but what you're doing, let me actually turn on divisions and I'll show you. This should actually really help a lot. As my staff is here, what I'm trying to do is pull the back end of my staff up this line. Let's see. The back of my staff needs to go up and down this line that's divided by me. So my pinky finger goes up the line while my hand, so you want to keep this in front, it's going up while I pull my hand up behind the back of my head to the point where it aligns perfectly. This is really interesting. I'm looking at this trying to align it, but I'm actually kind of standing off to the side. So it's from here. If I had a longer staff, it would probably be aligned a little bit more, but you can kind of see that this basically pulls up from the pinky finger while this goes down. Whoosh. So here to there. That is the hardest part. If you need help, let me turn off divisions here for a second. If you need help with this move, just take your hand and pop it up like this. So just pop this up and bend your elbow. So pop it up and bend your elbow. So pop it up, bend your elbow, and you see that your hand is actually doing this really awkward motion. You just kind of have to get used to this kind of a strange stretch. And you're basically trying to pull it behind the back. I'll do it on this side now so you can see it again. This is going behind the back of your head while this goes straight up. Like that. If you can get number 3, The rest is easy. Number 3 is the hard part. Okay, so here we go. 1, just push it straight up. 2, this goes behind. 3, you can even hold your hand out. Basically, think like you're being Superman. And you're gonna push this straight forward, and it's almost like you're flying whoosh, this direction. And then 4, you just drop it back down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Remember, this goes up. This 2. Well, actually, this is 1, 2, 3. 3 is the hard one. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then all one motion, it looks like this. There's a lot of variations to it that we can use. But to start off with, just go with that. 1, remember it's in front of you. 2, everything's behind you. 3, everything's in front of you. 4, comes back down like the baton. Oh, now it works. I see how it is. Oh, man. Come on, I just want to make some pretty pictures. It's open forum, so I can. So what is this stuff? If you guys don't know, I spent 2 years learning projection mapping, and it's been really awesome, but now that I had nothing to do, I thought I would try to use it for my live streams. I'd use some of the tricks that I learned and put it in my live streams. That way I can use it as a visual aid. Another one that I have is the box. So you can actually visually see the planes. See, there's a plane in front, there's planes to the side, there's above, and there's one behind. Planes are the invisible box that you should always be aware of when you're spinning. It just allows you to see how you can make really nice, clean circles. I'm gonna go back now, and hopefully that answers your question, Anthony. Back to the front cam. I have to admit, like, I wanna get a better camera for the front, but it's like, the more I do this, it's nice because, like I said, when you're live streaming, it's really, I gotta say, like when I'm recording videos, I've done hundreds of videos, but live streaming can be really kind of uncomfortable just because it's so quiet and you only get one chance, you have no edits, it's different, but I think it's really good for you. I think everyone should try live streaming. Okay, I am going to go check and see if there's any questions really quick. Glad everyone can hear long and clear. And by the way, DJ, you're awesome. I haven't seen you in ages, man. And welcome, Daniel. Welcome, I think it's Sink, might be Kink. Kink's pretty cool. So Sink. William and Jeffrey. All right. Nina says, never seen that technology before. That's really neat. Thank you. Yeah, I built it. I'd never seen it either in terms of what I needed it to do. And I looked high and low and realized I had to program it myself. And I took this very long journey into learning how to do visuals. I can kind of share that, and someday I'd like to share that with the Flow community so other people can be able to harness it too, because everyone uses Luminacer right now. If you haven't heard of Luminacer, it's an iPad and Android app. It allows people to make these really trippy designs with their LED props, but there's so much more. Like, there's so much more you can do. And I'll demonstrate another thing that you haven't seen yet, which is I can make a live clone of myself doing techniques so I can help break things apart. Lisa says, will this stream be available later so we can review it? Absolutely it will. All streams are saved, especially on YouTube. You can always go on there. I don't know how Facebook does it, but yeah, it'll absolutely be saved. William said that was a badass explanation. Connected a hole I've been trying to fix, and thank you. Love the visual aids. Glad to hear it, William. Which one was it that you were trying to do, the anti-spin, or were you talking about the one where it's going from shoulder to shoulder? Marcel says, theme to the moves like Bruce Lee. If I were to do like Bruce Lee moves, I would probably need to study the movie a little bit more closely. I've seen it, I just haven't worked off of that. He does a lot more fighting style nunchucks, which is lower grip, but we can definitely examine that. Okay, now I'm gonna go over to the YouTube side and make sure that I have any more questions, and I'll get back into it. I wanna say hello to, hey, it's Ike Flow. Good to see you again. And then I'm horrible at pronouncing, so I apologize in advance. Meliodas, full counter. I want to see the aquarium technique with the staff when he was spinning the staff trident very fast. Or the Aquaman technique. I'm not familiar with the Aquaman technique, unfortunately. I had never even seen the movie, to be honest. But if you want to share a link, if you guys want to share links, I'm more than happy to review them, as long as you don't mind that everyone else on the stream reviews them as well. And then Ike Flow says, I managed to work out an anti-spin with 2 full rotations in 1 circle, 1 on each side. Need to smooth it out though. That's awesome. If you can start doing anti-spins, especially with your left and right hand, then I can show you how to do anti-spins with the double staff, which looks really, really awesome. All right, so I'm gonna get back to answering a few questions here because I do have more. Ahmed, I hope that answers your question, and Anthony, I hope that answers your question. We can definitely come back to that. Yendertail had said, "Hey, so right now I need to go to bed. You know, some people it's late. Actually, a lot of the people that watch Flow Tricks are from another country, so I want to plan like different times while I do these live streams. I'm really tired. I just have 2 questions: how to do a rotor pass faster, and how to move your feet while performing. So faster rotor passes and how to incorporate footwork. Let's do it. Boom. Faster rotor passes. All right. So the rotor pass is this motion here. The rotor pass is very similar to a rotor pass with a staff, where we're just kind of passing it back and forth. So you can, even if you spin a staff or if you spin a nunchuck, it's going to be kind of the same thing. And I have to be honest, something like a rotor pass or doing anything fast, what you need to do is be able to do it slow first. You know the old saying, if you can do it slow, you can do it fast, is kind of true. If you can do it slow, it doesn't mean you can do it fast, but you need to build the sensitivity of when these things need to pass, because if there's no smoothness in terms of, if there's no smoothness in the way that it catches and releases, like if it's jaggedy, like that's going to slow you down, then the pass itself is going to be what slows you down. Other things that you want to consider is if you have weighted ends on the chucks, the momentum is going to want to carry itself forward a little bit more. It can be easier when you're first learning to build speed to have slightly weighted tips on the ends, because it's going to make it want to continue forward. And if you stop the momentum at all, you're going to feel the force return back into your hands. I won't say it hurts, but you can feel it when you're in flow, as opposed to when you're stopping it. You'll actually feel like your hands get more worn out faster, because all that force then goes into your hands instead of continually rotating it. If you want to think of speed, the goal of speed is to never force it. What you're doing is you're figuring out like you're kind of guiding it along. Like if someone threw a punch, you don't just grab their arm and yank them down. When someone throws a punch, if you're trying to move with it, you go at the same speed that they move and you redirect it the way it needs to go. So when you're talking about speed, start slow, and gradually speed it up until you can find the speed that works for you. Now this takes time, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of it's just repetition, just doing it over and over again. See, I think what makes someone great at anything is just repetition, and what they learn is just sensitivity. So when new people do anything or they see anything, they often oversimplify things because they lack the sensitivity to actually break things apart and realize all the elements that are involved. It's very simple at the same time, but just like with anything, your repetition, what you're doing though is you're not doing the repetition like anyone, like, I'm saying like a lot. What I'm trying to say is, the big mistake people make that I see a lot is the moment they learn a technique, they go on to the next one. You should probably do that technique once you got it 1,000 more times at least. just try it. And the reason for that is because once you can do the technique, it's not nearly the same thing as once you can do it without thinking about it. And you also want to look at, there's three states of training. We have the play state, where you're just experimenting, you're dropping a lot, but you're trying out new ideas, right? That makes you innovative. That gives you your own style. You're going to be fumbly a lot, but then you'll discover and make up new moves, right? You have the train state, where you're working to optimize things, and that's how you can build your speed up. So as I'm passing this back and forth, whenever I feel something waver, whenever something doesn't feel right, I stop and I analyze. So in order to go faster, sometimes it's good to learn how to break apart moves to the point where you can see where you're getting held up at. So if I'm going really fast, but it's not going fast with me, where am I getting held at? Is it this pass here? Why is it being held up here? Is my hand a little bit too high? Where's the center of balance of the chucks? Am I keeping by the center of balance, or am I a little bit off? Am I grabbing a little bit too high? Because if I grab too high from the center of balance, it's going to have like this wobbling, because the force is going to want to keep going. Like if I grab up here, it's a little bit different than if I grab lower right into it, right? But if I grab a little higher, then I have a little bit less force, because the force wants to keep moving, which gives me less control. So your ability to break apart moves will also help your speed, because in the optimized, in the trained state, that's where you're going to get your speed, and that's also where you're going to get your control. So go slow, break it apart, see how things are moving, repeat, keep going. There's the third state. Let's just talk about the third state too, because it's my favorite state. The trained state helps you get helps you like just take your moves and turn it into art. The play state allows you to grab new moves to create your own style. But the flow state is what puts it all together. So even if you've got a great arsenal of moves, don't ever neglect the flow state. And it's the most fun. The flow state is where you play your favorite music and you let the techniques move through you. You let the techniques speak for themselves. You're no longer doing this or that. You're letting them just happen through you. And in that way, there becomes a synergy where you become an outlet. To me, that's artistic expression at its best, you know? Knowing techniques, I've always said knowing techniques is a lot like being an author, an English major, but being able to perform it is what turns it into a story. So build your story. Okay, I'm coming back. Rah, rah, rah. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any more questions about that, but that's how I would build speed. Slower. Work on breaking things apart, seeing where you're getting hung up on. Make sure your chucks, maybe you're grabbing in just the wrong areas, or it's going to be fine-tuning it, because in the end, it's all about the little nuances that you connect together that really bring out the emphasis in just about anything. Just think of a cook where you just add just the touch of a spice, but it's just enough to make it, you know, awesome. All right. What we got next? Okay, so his next question, footwork while spinning. That's a great question. The number one thing about footwork is it doesn't just magically happen. You can watch someone do footwork, but it won't happen until you start practicing it. So the easiest way to practice footwork is to first realize the relationship of what happens to the chucks if I turn 180 degrees. Because the basis of footwork otherwise is going to be you trying to like not turn, and you'll just kind of be moving along this path, which is fine. You can do it like nice and smooth, right? But footwork really comes into play the best when you can add turns and whatnot. And what happens is whatever I'm spinning over here, I'm going to turn on my divisions really quick here. Hopefully this will help. Here's my box. Oh, let me go to here. Wrong button. Here's my box. There's my box, right? So if I'm on this plane over here, let's turn this off for a second. Okay, if I'm on this plane over here, which is the wheel plane, as I cross over for a figure eight, you realize that my hand spins backwards, correct? So my hand is, even though if I was to turn facing you, it looks like that the chuck's going counterclockwise, and as I spin, the chuck's still going counterclockwise. My hand kind of has to reverse directions as it changes course. And it's going to be the same thing with 180 degree turns. So if you're really to practice something, think about doing a figure eight and stopping at the other end. So if I'm over here, I'll change my side in a second. If I'm over here and I think about the figure eight, a figure eight is basically a circle. Here, I'm going to stand this way. Figure eight is basically a circle on this plane over here. And it crosses down to create a circle on this plane over here, right? And as you cross them together, you're basically creating two circles. Now if I was to turn to the side, you'd see it again, two circles, right? If I was to put down the chuck, and I was just to demonstrate with my hands, there's a circle here, and it crosses over to the other side and creates a circle on the other side of my body. The reason why all of this, there we go, the reason why all of this is important is because footwork is a lot like those circles. Except instead of the figure eight, how we're just going back and forth, we're going to stop on the other side, which is going to cause us to have to spin in reverse. So, moral of the story, if I'm facing forward, I do it one direction. If I turn 180 degrees, everything is backwards. So if I'm spinning this way, start with the figure eight to turn 180 degrees. Say we slash down and I turn, but then start learning to turn the chucks the opposite direction on the other end. If you can do that, you can use figure eights to move back and forth. So again, doing here, we swing down for a figure eight. We started over here, and you'll see that we're in reverse form. Let's see if I can actually get a little clip here so we can make this a little bit easier. Take a snapshot. So I'm going to stand over here for a second. Here we go. I'm going to stand here. As I swing it down, I'm going to turn over to this side over here. There we go. So you can see with the chucks, this is my new one, you can see that my hand is kind of rotating in an opposite angle. Hey, it's me. So basically oh man, I'm smiling too much. Actually, let's go back to Red Man. Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to show is that the hand swings in the opposite direction. I'm going to stand over here and I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to do it frontwards here. So that way you can kind of see what happens. So as I do this step, it's going to be in reverse. I'm going to start on this side now, and then as I swing it over, you're going to see my hand has to swing now. If you look at it, my hand is actually going clockwise, like this. But it's going to look the same direction to the audience, but your actual technique is in reverse. So what does all this have to do with anything? Easy. The basic concept of being able to do, oh, go away, Ken. Ken, go away. Thank you. The basic concept is anytime you need to do footwork, the most important thing, come on now, main camera. Anytime you need to do footwork, the most important thing is to remember whenever you turn behind you, everything is in reverse. That means if you learn your tricks, you need to learn both directions. You need to learn forward and reverse. And then that way, whenever you do your 180-degree turn, so say I'm doing a back-to-back, right, infinitely, the moment I turn here, it becomes a front-to-front. See? It becomes a front-to-front. It's no longer a back-to-back. So again, if I'm standing here and doing a back-to-back, I'll use like a figure eight to get to this side, but now it's front-to-front wrist rolls on this side. So again, one more time, I cannot emphasize it enough. The easiest way to learn footwork is to realize you just have to reverse all your directions whenever you're behind yourself. And then all you have to do is make connections. So if we were to do this, I'll show you more of a full combo. If I'm over here and I'm doing a figure eight, the moment I spin to this way, I'm in a reverse motion, right? And then I can do a reverse figure eight over here. See, this is a reverse figure eight. But then as I spin, I'm back to my original motion, which will allow me to basically now be able to do full turns. Hopefully you can kind of see what I'm trying to say. You're just connecting the dots. What is the front version here? As I turn, what is the exact opposite rotation? And how can I combine them all together? Like, what's the glue then? What's the transition point? And you can find that you can take just about any technique, and you can apply that to your footwork. That will give you good footwork. That'll be a good start. Because if you don't know how to do that, then even if your feet are super fancy, you're going to turn, but your chucks are going to fight you all the way, or your prop. Whatever your prop is, it's going to fight you. Doesn't matter what it is. Whether it's, even if it's staff, it's the same thing. As I turn, everything was in reverse here. Then as I turn, it's back to normal. Back here, it's in reverse. Back here, it's back to normal. Reverse, normal. And once you learn that, once you truly learn that, then you'll realize I can do just about anything if I just learn how to do the reverse. Can't stress that enough. There's probably 10,000 different examples I can give you. So if you want to actually see some techniques or some combinations with that, let me know. But I've kind of covered the concept of it. It can literally take you years to go through all the different variations that you already know with your techniques. Let me go. I'm back. Welcome. Hey, before I go any further too, I just want to let you all know again, I am out of work right now, and this is what I do for a living. So if you do like these streams, and if you haven't supported Flowtricks, it would be awesome. Right here, boom. Even if you want to just leave a little tip, every single little penny helps. I was a full-time performer for the longest time, and like I said, we're all out of work right now. So live streaming kind of, to me, this is never a requirement because I know everyone is struggling, and I'm going to do this regardless. But if you do enjoy it, and if you do appreciate it, and if you do have extra that you wouldn't mind helping me out with, that'd also be amazing. And if you do love it, boom, right there. That's all I'm going to talk about it for now. But yeah, that's it. For me, it's always the awkward spiel to even talk about that stuff. But got to put it out there at least. Okay. I've gone through all my preliminary questions, so now I'm going to go ahead and read off what people have written, and then maybe, like I said, this is an open forum. So if you have any questions at all, make sure you ask right now because I'm more than happy to help. So I'm going over to the YouTube side of things here. And see, this is why I need the stream on here, because it's like I'm reading, but you guys are just watching me read, which is probably really exciting. But I'm on my YouTube channel. For all of you guys on there, I'm reading. I'm at Josh Kidd. Now we're down to Ahmed. Amazing show. Thank you, Ahmed. Amazing performance. All right. Miladis says, I'm new. Yes, I can hear. That's great. Capital says, how are things in your area? I mean, in where I'm at, things are okay with Corona, if that's what you're talking about. US is not doing the best because, I mean, people are still having Corona parties where they're getting together, and it's kind of insane, you know, but I think, anyways, the whole point is that we're doing great. Like, I'm doing good. I'm just trying to make the most out of this crazy situation, but I still feel like United States, some people are still kind of crazy over here, where we should all be like trying to work together as a team to get rid of Corona as quickly as possible. I really hope we get to that point, because I have a feeling we might be here for a while if we don't. Let's see here. Marco says, how to move my body without ceasing the nunchuck flow? Is there the right side to increase speed or something? Perfect. Well, I just answered that question. But if you have more questions about how to turn your body, definitely let me know. As you can see, the forward and the reverse is everything. If you can do it one direction, make sure you can do it the other, and then start working on turning and doing the other direction, and you'll see that they automatically will start flowing together. Melidus says, I want to see the Aquaman technique with the staff when he was spinning. Oh, I think I've actually went through that. I managed to work out an answer. Okay, as a performer, I take it you have choreographed performances. If so, how do you get your flow, or do you separate the two, if that makes sense? So, how do I perform? This is a good question, right? Here's the deal. Oh no. Was that really over in the corner the whole time? Here's the deal. If you really think about it, with nunchucks, I literally, like, I wrote down the nunchuck moves, and I gave up years ago, but I've got like 350 that I have recorded, right? That's too many moves, in my opinion, to say, okay, when the song plays, I'm going to go to this, 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 and I'm going to memorize it. That's not to say I don't have points that are memorized. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. When it's going slow, I'm going to do snake style. So what I've done is kind of pulled it into themes, you understand? So when I listen to a song, the first thing I'm going to do is I'll play the song and I'll write notes. I'll say, what do I feel here? What do I feel here? And I start writing down times. This is slow. What am I envisioning? So I'm not even thinking about techniques. I'm thinking about feelings, right? For instance, most songs start off where it starts to build and then the beat drops and then it gets really big, right? So while it's slow, I'm not going fast at all. I might be doing something called snake style, where it's very slow and very pause, stop, you know, roll it across. So it's building with the music. And then let's just say I know the beat's about to drop. I might do a very specific move, you know, and then the music stops, boom, and then the music kicks into gear as soon as I grab it out of the air. So I'll practice that motion, so that way when I'm performing, even though, because most people don't care exactly what I'm doing specifically except for at key points in the song. So that's the part that you want to focus on the most. What are the highest parts of the song where there's a change, and what can you do to create huge emphasis at that point? So the answer to your question is, I do a little bit of both in my choreography. I don't memorize every single move unless I have to. Once in a while, there's some corporate shows, especially like if there's two of us performing at the same time, we have to mimic each other's movements to the T. I generally find that is great, but it also kind of limits the amount of creativity or the artistry that you can do. But it's really great, especially when you have things like Pixel Poi. I'll show you. These are Ignis's, by the way. I absolutely love them. When you have things like when there's two people doing LED chucks or LED poi, you kind of want to have the same patterns, because if I'm doing one motion while the other guy's going like this, it's going to look a little bit funny. So there are times where you need stiff choreography, but generally speaking, I'm a solo artist. And as a solo artist, I'll listen to a song, I'll write out how it makes me feel, and I will star the key points of the song that I feel like where the beat really hits hard, and I will put my most amazing, best things there. And I will practice that and time it out to the point where it's just on point. And that's what people are going to remember. And then the rest of it, I go off styles. So maybe after I do that and the beat kicks in, then I'll just go straight into hyper style for a minute, you know? So, again, I don't have all this pre-programmed because I don't think it matters, except for at the key points of the song. But I still need to identify the different techniques that I do and the feelings that are associated with it. So I have different styles. Like I said, when the music's slower, I go into snake style, or I'll just pause. I'll do pauses, and then I'll just kind of move. And it won't even necessarily be won't be a lot of techniques, but I'm just kind of building it with the song. You know? Pause, pose, move. Just stay interesting, you know. Keep it interesting, keep it alive. But then, again, when I feel the melody getting a little bit bigger, a little bit. Maybe then I'll start adding hand rolls where I didn't before. And then all of a sudden it just kicks up and then you do your mega move and everyone goes crazy. That's kind of the basic of how I choreograph. It's a skeleton based on feelings, key points, and then the rest of it is based on styles. Snake style here. I'm gonna stand still here. Maybe I'll come up with something even different. Like this song sounds like I need to move like staccato because the beat is moving strangely. So I might do the same motions, but kind of like do, you know? So get creative. Don't just think of techniques. Think of how your body can sell it as well. And I think you'll come up with something that you will love. I personally think performing is fantastic. And you want to break out of the box of just doing techniques though. Really do. You really do. Not only is it more freeing for yourself, it's really fun. It's really fun. All right, Greg says, hello, I've been practicing combat style for 20 years. Awesome, that's a long time. I know I have preferred sizes for that style. What are some brands or types you would say are best for people starting freestyle? Sure. Well, obviously, I love the Dark Monk Studio Chucks, and I don't just say that. I helped him. He would send me, Chad from Dark Monk has sent me so many variations of this chuck, and I tried to, and it's basically tailored to the style that I teach. So that's why I talk him up so much, because he worked with me iteration over iteration. He tried to get it right. The reason why I like these is because they're padded, so they're soft, but they also have enough weight. So if you ever, some people go into fire dancing, which is my prime method of, making money sometimes as a circus artist. It's a huge factor for me. So these kind of have a similar weight to fire nunchucks. They're padded. They're made of this really nice solid Technora rope. The ends won't, they're kind of, what am I trying to say? They won't clip your fingers. Some nunchucks will actually cut your fingers as you go through it. This has just been very meticulously made. Even the balance point is right on point. So it's right where you want your hand to be. So I love these. If you can't, I've always said that there's no one nunchuck that's best for everyone. There's pro chucks and there's small ones, and we've got 16-inch chucks and 12-inch chucks and 10-inch tech nunchucks. So in the end, it's really about what your style is. You got to keep in mind there's usually not a such thing as a bad chuck. Now there definitely are bad chucks, but for the most part, most nunchucks are not bad per se. More like it just opens up certain techniques. Like even those super light kid chucks, unless they break, of course, those aren't good, will make you insanely fast with hyper style. Problem is you probably won't be able to do too many other tricks. So when you get a new pair of chucks, regardless of what you use, what you want to think of is not, is this a good chuck or is this a bad chuck, right? Because that's just a reflection of your style. That's a reflection of where you are. The chuck might want something different than what you want. And if you start thinking, well, in terms of how to respect the nunchuck or the poi or the staff, you'll start listening to what you really excel at when you use these things and what you could excel at better while you use these things. And what's interesting is as you use different props, different nunchucks, different stabs, you may even be able to unlock certain techniques that you couldn't have ever done with other ones. So it's really good to have a good variety, but just keep in mind the most important thing, and this is why I say there's no best chucks, is because it depends on your style. And depending on your style is going to depend on what kind of chuck I could recommend to you. And to some degree, you may not even want to hear my recommendation because it's your style. So you want to explore. Just keep in mind, all nunchucks have a mind of their own. All poi have a mind of their own. All staves have a mind of their own. All props have a mind of their own. So you really, really want to listen. You really want to listen to what their strengths are and then build yourself around it, and you will grow instead of trying to pound your techniques into a prop. Listen to it and grow together. It's like a relationship, except they don't talk and they don't eat. Yeah, okay. I could keep going, but Akiflo says, mate, regarding work, I'd be happy to invite you to our dojo in the UK for a seminar once this craziness is over. That would be amazing. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to do a workshop. I've only done a couple full weekend workshops before. Where the last one I did, I think, was in Arizona, but that was 4 years ago or so. I would love to do one. That sounds great. Also says, thanks, Ken. I like the idea of dividing into styles. I've always been put off by performance because I'm not keen on choreography, as it's hard to make it look natural. Absolutely. And let me tell you another thing about choreography. If you're just counting, unless you have something like pixel poi where you need to be very specific and you're working with someone else, it looks mechanical. You need to be like free with it. So that's not to say like all choreography looks mechanical, but you want to avoid that, because just because you have a memorized set of moves does not necessarily mean it's better than a freestyle. It just gives you more opportunity to build off the key moments, which is why I say be a little more, just be more free with it, but definitely listen to what the song needs at very specific points and build those very specifically. But it doesn't have to be that much, just a little bit, just where it counts. Make it count. Okay, now I'm going to go over, that was all the YouTube questions that I have for now, and then I'm going to move over to the Facebook side of things. All right, where are we here? Yep, we got the Bruce Lee. Okay, Marco says, how do I move my body without ceasing the nunchuck flows? Example, figure 8 wrist rules. Is there a specific side to learn or angle or speed increase? So Marco, that's a really good question. How do you move your body without ceasing the nunchuck flow? Let's go back here and really analyze that for a second. Nunchucks, poi, staff, all props have one thing in common. Same with your arms. Your arms can only move 2 directions, right? Your arm can move this direction. Your arm can move this direction when we're talking about the front plane. Obviously, it can move up and down and all around, but that's what we need to see. When you're not sure how you can make chucks flow together, I can give you this great piece of advice, which is to buy a bunch of flashcards and write down all the moves that you can do when the chuck is spinning counterclockwise, right? So with counterclockwise, I can do a front-to-front hand roll, correct? But there's no way I can do a front-to-front hand roll with my right hand if it's going this way. That would be a back-to-back hand roll, which is a very different technique. So again, if you understand where those techniques are, what direction the technique needs to go in order for it to work, then you'll realize how you can make things flow together smoothly. I'm not going to go over footwork because I already covered that earlier, but you can also see that if you, whatever's behind you, you can do in reverse to connect them together. But just pure techniques in general, what you want to do is get a bunch of flashcards, write down, here's all the moves that I want to do. Maybe write down 10 moves, okay? So I can do this, I can do a rotor pass going this direction. So write down rotor pass. I can do a rotor pass and a throw. So then all of a sudden, once you have a bunch of cards together, grab 3 random cards. They should all be going the same direction, and then see if you can turn that into combo. So maybe it's a rotor to a rotor pass throw to a front-to-front hand roll. All of them are moving in the same direction, so that won't be a problem. But now, you have to think, well, if I can only do moves in one direction, isn't that going to make me kind of stuck? And the answer is yeah. You're just going to keep doing these same moves. So how can you break it up? Well, you need to be able to go the other direction too. So then have cards for the opposite direction. What can I do with this one? What's a little bit different, right? And then when you have these, here's the moves I can do clockwise, here's the moves I can do counterclockwise. All you need to do to move between the two is think of the transitions. The easiest transition is the bounce. So if I'm here and I need to go into the opposite way, all I have to do is bounce it once, and then the chuck's reversed. Once the chuck's in reverse, now we go to all the other flashcards to whatever we wanted to do from there. See? The moment I do a bounce, one bounce changes the rotation of the chucks. And it'll be the same with the staff too. Like if I'm spinning a staff this way, start thinking of all the different moves that you can do when it spins this direction. However, if we go this way, you'll notice that we have options to different kinds of techniques that are a little bit easier from this way. So again, the best way I can say is to start, now you're going to have more than clockwise and counterclockwise. Your style is definitely more complicated than just 2 directions. But to start, have flashcards, index cards clockwise, index cards for counterclockwise. And while you don't do bounces, you're not like spinning a staff and go, wah! You're not like hitting it to bounce it. You can like pause for a second to change the direction. So like you could say, wah, pose. And that pose stops it so I can pull it the other way, and now I'm going in reverse direction like that. So the trick in my book is to just keep building out new combos. If you have these flashcards though, you can practice every day on one new combo. And what it'll do is it'll give you a familiarity with your techniques you may not have ever had before, simply because you're learning how they transition together. again, one of the big problems that I see with spinners is that they learned all these techniques and techniques and techniques, but I feel like what makes it really good is your transitions in between them. They really speak a lot when you see like this jaggedness between techniques, but if you're able to fluidly move through each one, to me that makes it more an expression. So your focus is going to be transitions. Your focus will be on transitions, having those stack of flashcards, going certain directions, pulling a few out, and seeing if you can build combos every day. Eventually you won't need those flashcards at all. You'll just know. You'll just be able to fling it out. But until you reach that point, to me that is like the best way that I've learned how to get into the flow of things. I'm sure there's a lot more. The flashcard thing, man, for the longest time I wanted to make some nunchuck flashcards just because I find it to be so helpful to use flashcards. Because when you can look at a technique and break it into timing and direction, this is more than nunchucks, this is everything. But when you can break something up in timing and direction and where it's going, then all of a sudden you can connect the dots with multiple techniques and you'll know which ones work and which ones don't. And even the ones that don't work, here, I want to go back. Even the ones that don't work, like let's say I go here, but then I also want to do this, double finger roll, correct? It's like you can't really go from here into here very easily. But then all you have to think of is, well, what's the transition? Maybe my transition is slashing it across first, you know? So what I would do is I just add one little transition that will allow me to get to this point. So even if you have planes or if you have a technique that goes a completely different way, that's gonna make you have to be creative in terms of how you can get to that point. Maybe I just wanna slap it. I'll just give you an example. Slap, see that? So I'm here, I'm just grabbing the chuck and slapping it this direction, just slapping it right into the rotation it needs to be. So now all of a sudden, it was that simple. Like I didn't even have to do anything. So even if you, that's gonna be a little bit more advanced. What I'm trying to say is, so after you work your cards out, you'll just realize that the cards are not necessary at a more advanced level because you can just add transitions like that slap. It's so simple, but then it can pretty much put you in any plane that you need to be. And a lot of that can be said with a lot of different props. So keep that in mind. Work those transitions out. Good transitions mean a lot. It really means a lot. Okay, next question here. Steve says, my ceiling is not appreciating my anti spins. Man, oh my gosh, I should show video. Somewhere I have videos, but my old apartment, when I was first training nunchucks, I used to use oak chucks. And I used to, oh my gosh, my wall, I could practically see my neighbor. I did not get my deposit. I'm sure they hated me for it. But I became, a better artist. So I totally hear you on that one. Marcel says, what is your favorite trick with your nunchucks? Oh, okay. It's pretty obvious. You've probably seen me do this one a lot. My favorite trick is this one where and the reason why I like it is because the crowd absolutely loves it. And I really enjoy doing it. And it's going to be a bounce off the tricep, and then it kind of comes over to the side of here, but we're just using this to redirect it backwards. So it's this motion here, which turns this into a front to back hand roll here. So here to front to back hand roll like this. Now this sets up a throw, and I can launch this thing 10, 20 feet in the air, and it's just awesome. I can't do that here, but it's here, cross. This is just a horizontal rip, basically. Horizontal rip. It rolls under, right? So it's rolling under, but as it's coming up, I pull my hand backwards and that causes it to fly in the air. I love this one the most because it's just super gratifying, and I also find that the crowd loves it. It feels great to just be like, whoosh, just bam, wham. And I'm just like watching this thing spiral in the air and just snatching it out. I don't know. It just makes me feel Super Saiyan, But that's my favorite nunchuck move for sure. It really varies depending on how I feel, but if I was to say one right off the bat, that one's my favorite. Okay, Steve says, I'm a little unclear on what the different quadrants are called. What are the different quadrants and what are good transitions between them? I'm going to go back here again. Keep in mind, I must warn you all right now that when we talk about quadrants, this was back in the nunchuck days before the flow art scene really took over. So a lot of nunchuckers use a little bit different terminology than flow artists. So if you're a flow artist, you probably have better terminology than even I do because I'm way old school when it comes to this stuff. When you're asking about, I want to go back here. What's a little unclear about the different quadrants are called? I mean, really, really what we're just talking about when I was talking about quadrants in my videos is being able to break apart a technique through your body. Generally speaking, when I usually use these, I go for shoulder, shoulder, hip, hip. Sometimes armpit, armpit too. These 6 points are like the gold mine of ways that you can break a technique apart. And let me give you an example. This is a circular spin. This is a circular spin by this point. You don't really do a circular spin by this point, maybe in some burlesque shows. But as you can see, changing the direction of where this nunchuck is going to change how I need to apply it because my hand is in a different position. It's actually harder. Now that's not too impressive, but then we start adding figure eights and you're going to see that the game starts changing. So the figure eight over here, for instance, and the figure eight over here are going to feel a lot different. Not only does it feel different, it looks different, but it's just a figure eight. We're just pulling it around our body. So just think of it like this. This is technically it's a reverse figure eight. So again, we got the hip, we got the hip, we got the shoulder, we got the shoulder. The reason why I like to talk about quadrants and whatnot is because you can take a lot of the same moves that may feel drab or dull and just pull it into your body, and all of a sudden it gets this brand new feel. It just feels different and it looks different, allows you to do a lot of motions. A lot of times when I'm doing like all these spins, a lot of it is just moving through my quadrant areas. All of that is just basically figure eights and reverse figure eights while I'm turning and moving into those 4 points, usually the hip, and the shoulder, the shoulder. Sometimes I say up here because there are moments where we do like move through this point, but usually it's the hips and the shoulders, which is why I call it quadrants. If you want to really break it down, it goes into the armpits, and then there's also 4 points, inner thigh and outer thigh, and then the bottom of the foot and the calves. But the prime points are here, 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 here. Sometimes here, here. So as you can see, for instance, just practice your figure eight like this, and then bring it in under your armpit, and you're going to notice to get more control of it, I need to move my hips a little bit more, right? Eventually you won't need to use your hips as much, except for just to clear it so it doesn't hit you, so it doesn't bounce and hit you. But that's a really important thing to realize, is as you pull it towards your body becomes the control mechanism. The farther I go, the easier it is to let my fingers, but the more I put it in my body, the more I want to kind of use my body to control it. So all of this is just basically reverse figure eights and figure eights just kind of pulled through my body with, floats and whatnot. So that's the concept. Especially with figure eights and reverse figure eights, you could spend months. You could spend months just working out all the different ways that you can play with reverse figure eights to figure eights around the different points of your body. I highly encourage that, as a matter of fact. Doesn't work with every technique, but ones that weave back and forth through 2 different areas, definitely. Definitely. Okay, let me go back to the front cam. Let me see here. So that was Steve's question. Steve, if hopefully that answers your question, let me know. Let me know if you have more questions about that. Let's see. William says, you're going to revolutionize trainings with your program someday soon, I bet. I don't know, man. I do feel like we have a lot of ninjas now. Like there's a lot of people learning nunchucks, which makes me happy. I probably should redo the whole series because when I first started, I was not as good as of an instructor as I am now. So I think it might be kind of cool to be able to do that. But I don't know. I don't know what the future of Flow-Trix is. All I know is through Corona, I definitely want to teach as many ninjas as I can. Sometimes it's hard. I've been teaching this for over 10 years now. I've got, as you can see, if you looked at my YouTube page, I have over 800 videos of nunchucks. There's like 800 tutorial videos now. And it's like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting that I'm still not running out of ideas, but for me, live stream just makes the most sense because it's like, I feel like I've taught just about everything I could do to some degree with techniques, but now it's just like getting all those little questions from everyone, the little nuances that I probably missed. So I really like doing live streams. I want to get better at it. And then let me just keep going here. We got 2 more questions on the Facebook side, and then I'll go check on the YouTube side, and I'll probably go for a little bit until we run out of questions here. Lisa says, are you basically stepping in the same direction the nunchuck is moving? Are you basically stepping in the same direction the nunchuck is moving? Yes. The answer is yes. You're always, here, let me move. You're almost always stepping in the direction that the nunchuck is moving, meaning I could use my shoulder and kind of feel it go down into the other side. I'm not saying that you do this, but I'm not fighting it. So I'm not swinging this way, but I'm not turning the opposite way. You could probably do something like that, but it would be against it'd be against the basics. The basics is going to be wherever your chuck goes, your prop goes, wherever my staff goes, I follow it. So if I'm swinging down, I might go down with it too, like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Do you see how my shoulders always following? My shoulders almost always following my staff, my hand. They're moving in synchronicity. But if I go the opposite direction, you'll see what will happen is I'm pulling away, which can create some cool anti-spins, but you only have so much length before you get stopped. You know? If I want to go this way, but my body's turning the opposite way, you get stuck. So you always want to go in the same direction as where you're moving. All right, front camera. I have to say, like, this open forum has been really good. I feel like I've been able to help a lot more than when I was doing the classes, just because it's like I'm directly being able to answer people's specific questions. I really like this. Okay, I just wanted to say hello. I didn't say hello yet, so I want to say hi to Sam, Brooke, Jessica, Susan, Heidi, Laura, Madeline. Madeline, it's been a long time. Tony, Kevin, Tamarin, Brittany, and Lee. Welcome, welcome. DJ asked if I've ever thought about doing whip work. I know a guy named Dylan. He's a pretty fantastic whip artist. I just do too much, to be honest. Like when I have time now to work on something, I'm usually working on those cool visuals that you see me working on. I do a lot of work on visuals right now. So when it comes to technique, I mostly maintain for where I'm at and I teach for where I'm at, but I don't push the envelope like I used to as much. But I also feel like I've laid a solid enough groundwork where everyone else can. When it comes to whips though, I have considered it, but I've also considered better bougang, and there's these new square things that fold that look really sweet. There's so many props, so little time. Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna move over to the YouTube side now. In your opinion, Ike Flo says, in your opinion, when learning techniques on both sides, do you think it's easier to get it right on one side first and then or improve both at the same time? So here's my rule on learning both directions. I go against most performers, most instructors when I say this, so take my advice with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt. What is Ken talking about? Well, I'm basically talking about when most instructors teach you something, they say, if you do it one way, do it the other way too. Make sure you can do both directions, right? Give them an equal amount of time so you can do both. In my opinion, you don't need to learn both directions unless you're turning. You just don't. And here's another thing that I do differently than most people too. I don't teach the same techniques to my right hand than on my left. My left hand has a whole different skill set than my right hand does. So the one thing that both my hands learn are moves where I need to do turns, because those I need to be able to mirror and reflect. So I do teach myself that. But when it comes to specific techniques, my right hand does very specific things and my left hand does specific other things. So what are the pros and cons? The con is that if the audience sees me do the same trick on my right hand, I may not be able to repeat it on my left. But who's going to even notice that? In my opinion, the pros to teaching your different hands, different techniques is that your muscle memory will come automatically. So instead of doing the same trick over and over, I just did it with my right, I'm going to do it with my left, what's going to come automatic on my left hand is going to be a whole different skill set, which allows me to do more tricks. In my opinion, it allows me to have more tricks in my arsenal because they have different. What comes naturally to my left is going to be different techniques than what comes naturally to my right. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps out. So what I'm trying to say is, when you're learning to do turns or 180-degree spins or 360s, yeah, learn it, grind it, get both sides, make sure everything looks good. You're always going to have one side that's harder than the other, but drill it, get it done. But when you're just talking about regular techniques and your style, dude, yeah, don't. You don't need to like teach both hands both the same tricks, unless you want to, of course. It's just my opinion, but I tend to feel like I have more variety because my left hand has a different arsenal than my right. Yeah, And I think that goes against what a lot of teachers would probably say, but you know, in the end, for me, it's about just how I express myself, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't put anyone in danger, so we're all good. Yeah, my advice to you is whenever you want to do turns, learn both directions, both sides. One side's going to be easier, still drill the other side. But when you're not doing turns, when you're doing techniques that don't require turns, you don't have to learn them on both hands. I would recommend you don't. I would recommend that you teach your hand different techniques on both sides so you can have this really cool variety. Your muscle memory will be, well, cool, yeah. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Akira says, great work, thanks for all the videos. I took time a few years ago to learn the basics, and now I've got lots of flow thanks to you. Yeah, you're most welcome. I mean, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. Anytime, like, I'm hoping that in future live streams, you know, anytime I'm hosting these things, just ask me questions because I just want to help people. All right, Oriel says, hello, Ken. Hello. Santuan Span says, hey, Ken, good stuff. Keep your head up. So, I will. Thank you. I'll do my best. Steph said, I just started today. Congratulations. I will be watching everything of you. Thank you. I do a lot of talking, especially in the beginning. But if you have any direct questions, yeah, be sure to holler. Like, that's what I'm here for. Okay. Well, guess what, everybody? We've hit the end of the questions. Steph says you're a good host. Thank you. I'm still working it through. Like I said, I'm comfortable in front of a camera, but it's still, live stream is a totally different beast than being able to record, edit, put the nice filters on the videos. I kind of like it though, it's more raw, and the most important thing is I get to talk to you all directly. To me, that's like a huge benefit. I'm really happy that I can do that because I will just do random techniques and random tutorials, but here I'm specifically helping people. Every single question specifically has helped someone, and that makes me feel good. I feel like that's a worthwhile use of my time. You know, again, when you do this 10 years, you start thinking, God, what can I teach? What can I teach that can like really make a difference, that like is important, because I've got all the fundamentals down. I could redo everything, but what is it that people really need? For me, I think live stream might be it, just because then I know someone needs it. So there it is. Thank you, Steph. I appreciate that. I'm going to see if you have any last questions, because I'm about to close up the stream. Please ask now, and I'm more than happy to answer and to help. Jeanette says, thank you for your time. Can't wait for the next live stream. Stay healthy. You too. Thank you. Lisa says, agree totally. Yes. No, thank you all. And same for everyone. Please stay healthy. Again, we're in unprecedented times, but you know, the one thing that I cannot get over is how much everyone is pulling together. It's really fantastic. It really shows just how beautiful human beings are and what we can do when we put our minds to things. But in the meantime, what I can do for you is help you learn an art form to help you express yourself. So if you do need help, feel free to message me. You know, that's what I'm here. And like I said, I'm here for a long time because I don't know, even when Corona's gone, do you think people are going to be hosting events right away? I mean, as a performer, it's going to be tough. This whole year is going to be pretty rough. I'm anticipating, at least. Maybe not, but I just want to be realistic and just pitch a 10 on live streams and keep doing it. So, okay, I'll answer these last questions and then I'll head out. Steve says, what is the best trick with your legs or feet? I don't do a whole lot of feet tricks. I have done kicks with nunchuck spins, but I haven't done them in a while. Like, the problem is I'm getting a little bit older and I haven't been stretching, so I would need to, before I taught anything, I would have to like start stretching a little bit more. So I'm gonna put that one on pause. All right, y'all, let's see here. DJ says, I can dig that tough with fire. Oh my God, whips on fire are so amazing though. Steve feels like I feel like I'm caught in a rut with figure eights on a staff. Are there any types of rolls that you can do to make that flow more creative? So I feel like I'm caught in a rut with figure eights on a staff. Are there any types of rolls that you can do that make the flow more creative? Staff has a ton of different moves, but usually when I do my staff basics, it's not a fun class because I teach the essentials of how to turn with it and how to keep it flowing. Are there any types of rolls that you can do to make the flow more creative? Well, I will say this. Let's see. So if you have a rut with let me go over here. I'm going to answer this. If you're stuck in a rut with figure eights, right? The core basics without going into contact staff is the center is the rotor, right? The side is the figure eight, right? The back is the pinwheel, and then the right is the reverse figure eight. And if you can do that, you can move between all these points seamlessly. So basically I'm moving between those 4 points, right? And then you can start combining them together to create like your flow. But that in itself just doesn't necessarily mean it's the most exciting thing. So what can you do? Well, a couple things you can do. One is, all techniques don't have to be in the same spot. For instance, if I do a figure eight like this to my side, right? That may not be the most exciting thing, but what if I held out my arm? What if I started tracing along my arm with the figure eight? Now the figure eight looks a little bit different. If I do a reverse figure eight, what if I pulled it into my body and did a figure eight back here? Then start thinking about, what if I extended my hands out? You know? Or what if I reversed the direction? So while you're doing your figure eights, keep in mind that those 4 techniques that I usually show in the staff basics, it's a great start. But then start experimenting with extending your arms, moving things in the way. Like if you do a figure eight, what if you did a figure eight behind your back? Or what if you did like some sort of variation of it, you know? All these are just kind of different kinds of figure eights, but what if I rotated from hip to hip? Remember when I was talking about quadrants, how we have the 4 points? There's 2 points here, 2 points here. It would look like a figure eight like this, but now I'm rolling it between these 2 points here. Or I could roll it from the back. And then, it keeps going. That would take, I could probably do an intermediate staff class for ninjas next, because I did teach all the basics on my last live stream, but we can start getting into the really fun stuff. Like, once you get those basics down, that's when things get really fun, but you gotta get a little bit creative, and most of it has to do with taking the techniques that you know and start bending it around your body. Another thing, like for instance, if we're doing a rotor, rotors are fun, yeah, but you can start doing hand rolls with them, you know? Or you can do throws with them. Throws, or so now you got this rotor and you're doing a throw, or we're adding hand rolls to it, and then we pull it back to a pinwheel. So you can start seeing, like, if you just keep those four basic moves where they need to be, you can start just playing with it a little bit. Add a little throw, add a little anti-spin, add something a little bit extra, and you'll start like building the foundation until you have, well, you know, a castle. So what I taught was the core essentials. It will get boring fast and it won't look fun if you did that for 3 minutes from a performer standpoint, but it is the core essentials that can help build into all these other cool things. Also really look into footwork. Look into footwork, look into those 180-degree turns, especially with the staff. That's a great way to sell it. I hope that helps. Again, if we need to do like another staff live stream, I'm all for that as well. Okay. Ariel says, please drop this lesson on YouTube. Absolutely. This should automatically upload into YouTube within a couple hours. So I think we're good with this. I think I'm gonna head out. But I just really want to thank everyone for joining the live stream. We covered a lot of ground. If you just missed, if you didn't get everything, keep in mind these will post. Give it like an hour or two, and it should post on my YouTube page as well as my Facebook page. But I hope you guys are doing well. Just keep your head up and keep going. And I don't know, let's do more live streams next week. Yes, the pinwheel. Akira says, wow, I need to learn that pinwheel better. Yeah, the pinwheel is amazing, especially for staff. We should cover, but go ahead and go look at my staff basics live stream. I did it last week and we covered all those 4 moves. I feel like that's really important. I think you'll really enjoy it. So you all be well. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you've liked what you've seen, you know, we can always use a tip in the tip jar. As I said, I'm an out-of-work performer, so Patreon and YouTube is all I got for a while. But if not, that's totally okay too. Hope you guys are doing great. Keep your head up, and I keep repeating myself. I think I'm gonna just play some video games now. I think it's about time to play games. I've been hooked on this game called Neo. Oh my god, it's so much fun. All right, y'all take care. Message me if you need anything.